There's this idea that if you want to change your life, it has to look a certain way. Like you need some big moment where everything clicks and you completely reinvent yourself. And I get why that's appealing, but when you actually look at people who've built something real, it rarely happens like that. It's just someone who found something worth showing up for and didn't stop. And most of the time they were committing to it per day wasn't even that much. It was more about consistency. The easiest way I can explain it is through the gym, because I think most people have either lived this or watched someone close to them go through this. People who are fit and in good shape don't live in the gym. They go a few times a week, maybe spend an hour or two, and then they leave. If you look at any single week of their lives, it's not really impressive at all. But stretch that out over the span of a year and the difference is incredible. It's actually kind of hard to believe the level of consistency people that go to the gym actually have. It's kind of like how they go to work every single day, except it's the gym. When you have that level of consistency, it's not just you physically that changes, it's also your mental and the way you think about things. Things start shifting in a way that you probably didn't even plan for. And it all comes from something that didn't really feel like a big deal or like a big difference in the beginning. That's the part I think people struggle with. That's the part I definitely struggled with. When you're in the middle of it, it can feel like nothing really is happening. You put in your time, you finish, and you go on with your day. There's no big reward waiting for you. There's no instant results. It's kind of feels meaningless. So I get it. It's easy to start questioning whether it's even worth it or not. But it's important for us to realize that the results were never supposed to show up right away, or even for some people in a few months. They show up later, after enough time has passed that all those small efforts start stacking up and become something bigger. To be fair, not everyone gets there. A lot of people start and drop. I know I did that multiple times before actually being consistent in certain parts of my life. And I'm hoping this channel isn't going to be one of those cases where I start and I drop. I want this to be a symbol of what I'm talking about. Now I know I'm not successful right now, and there is a chance that I'll never be successful with a lot of subscribers or a lot of viewers or even anyone in the comments to talk to, but I'm very content with that, because that's not the only purpose I've given this channel. This channel is a journal for me. It's supposed to help me remember things that I've learned throughout my life that I never want to forget, and in turn I hope it helps someone else, even one person, learn from my mistakes. But most of us already know consistency works. That's not really the problem. So why is it still so hard? For me, if I'm being completely honest, there were a lot of moments where discipline was the issue. But there were also a lot of moments where it was more about fear. The fear of putting real effort into something and having people in my life watch me and see it go nowhere, and the fear that they'll just see me fail. There's something uncomfortable about deciding to take something seriously when nobody asks you to and when there's no guarantee that it's ever gonna go anywhere. You know, unlike school or work, you're kind of meant to do those things and you get results from it instantly. Maybe not school, but definitely work. And everyone does it. That's why it's so comfortable and so normalized. But the moment you want to try to do something for yourself, the moment you want to try to kind of step off the rails and try something out, well, for me anyway, it became scary. I was scared that people would kind of laugh at me or see me fail in trying something that no one else really tries. That was honestly a big reason why I held off on starting this channel for as long as I did. I kept it as an idea because ideas feel safe. They're in your head. You can kind of take it wherever you want with your imagination. You can't really fail at something you can't really fail at something you haven't even started yet. And I think some part of me understood that and just used it as kind of safety. Honestly, some of the reasons I had for waiting all this time felt real. And honestly, I think they were, but they still kept me in the same spot regardless of how valid they were. And eventually I got tired of that, and that's why I'm starting. What the waiting period actually feels like from the inside is something I feel like doesn't get talked about very often. The thing you're putting off doesn't go away. It sits there quietly in the background, and slowly your days start to feel a bit flat. Not in a dramatic way, more like nothing feels like it's really going anywhere. When life starts to feel like that, kind of dry and boring, it's worth paying attention to, in my opinion. Because for me, it was a sign that there was something missing in my life. When I finally did start, the thing that surprised me most wasn't anything external. It was the realization that I didn't need to feel motivated every single day to keep going. And if I did do that, I wouldn't be going anywhere. Motivation comes and fades instantly. It was easy for me to just show up because it was something that I actually enjoyed. Making videos, like I said, is my journal, so it's something I can take away from whether I get views or not. It taught me that regardless of whatever you're trying to pursue, Don't pursue it in chase of just the result. Try to find value and enjoyment in the journey. Now, I know people always say enjoy the journey and not just the destination, but I want to dig a little deeper into that and think about creating purpose in the journey, right? Finding enjoyment in something in the journey. So for me, I'm making these videos and the destination is hopefully reaching a lot of people and having a community. But I'm still enjoying this because for me, I still get a lot out of my journal. I still learn a lot and I still am grateful to the fact that I'll never forget these lessons that I'm learning. I made a commitment to post one video a week and I genuinely believe that over time it's going to change my life, whether it's through success or through the things I've learned. I just can't tell how or when. It might even take years before anything meaningful shows up. But honestly, because of what I just said, that doesn't really bother me at all. And that I feel like is so key to trying to be successful in anything. And I think having that kind of mentality is a big reason as to why consistency is so easy for me and how we can use that to make consistency easy in other things, like even going to the gym. If everything feels like a chore, then you're not going to want to do it. Or even if you do have the discipline to do it, wouldn't it be easier to find enjoyment in it and making it feel like it's not a chore, making it feel like you're looking forward to it? Isn't that what we want out of everything in life? Kind of being able to be happy in every single hour of our day. Obviously, there's not going to be every single moment where we can do that, but we can try. I think people underestimate how far you can actually go when you're not trying to rush everything. There's a joke that a lot of people have their best ideas at 2 a.m. and start working on them then. But then the next day when they wake up, they forget about it. Or they just never really look back into it until 6 months later when it's 2 a.m. again. There's this constant urge to get results as fast as possible and you start working on it right away. But it kind of goes back to the story of the tortoise and the hare. If you go slowly but consistently, you're gonna get to your destination. Stop having this urgency and this feeling of you're missing out or that you're not going to be successful unless you work 6 hours right now. If you can get comfortable with the amount of time it takes, with how long the process is, trust me, you're going to be so content in your life and even other aspects of your life, and eventually it will pay off. At least that's what I believe. And I'm hoping that this channel can be evidence of that. So when people ask if an hour can really change your life, I think a better question is, what happens if you don't do that? What happens if you never give yourself the consistent time to work on something that actually matters to you? Because whether you work on your goal an hour a day or not, a year is still gonna pass. And then before you know it, 5 years are gonna pass. The only difference is whether you use that time to build something that matters to you or just let that time fade away. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to know exactly where you're going. You don't need to know exactly where it's going. You just need something in your life that feels worth showing up for. And if you're able to give it that time consistently without overthinking it too much, there's a really good chance that success is inevitable for you. Again, I don't know when it's gonna be. It may not be for 6-7 years, but it also could be in a few months. But you need to be content with the idea that it can take as long as it wants and you'll be happy either way. That's the key, finding joy in putting that hour every single day and not looking for results even ever. And there's a really good chance that whatever you start doesn't take you exactly where you expected or where you wanted it. But I want you to ask yourself this: isn't it worth taking that risk rather than letting that time fade and just having regret later on?